Welcome into K-State Online. I am Mason Voth. That is Drew Galloway. Here we are back with each other 2 consecutive days. Everybody's healthy. That's good news. Trending towards a massive weekend for the KSO membership. Drew, bye week for K-State, not for him. He's going to watch the Dogs play in Athens against Ole Miss. Both teams shaky performances last week, so that's fascinating. Me going to a pumpkin patch, boy, it doesn't get better than that. Would much rather be looking at what's going on with football. So a shame we don't have a K-State game this weekend, which means we can talk more about basketball this week, which is about to take center stage a week from yesterday. So the 22nd of next week, we will converge on Kansas City, get to hear from all the Big 12 coaches and the players that are going there. First things first, K-State. I think we mentioned it yesterday by the time we recorded, but they are sending Moby as well as PJ Hagerty and Abdi Bashir, which, 2 or 3 ain't bad.
Moby, I think, is all about just being a returner.
Yeah, you get somebody with some consistency at least.
And he probably makes the most sense because he made more impactful plays last year, which is wild to say, than CJ Jones.
Yeah, I get why they're doing it. You don't want to send all newcomers or whatever. I just, I would break it down like this. I thought Moby was a very valuable piece to what K-State did last year at times, but it doesn't mean that he was a big part of it.
No.
Like he's going to go out and, he's got a role to play 5 to 10 minutes any given night. And when he's playing really well and things are going his way, he's going to play probably 12 or 13 minutes in a game. And that's okay. But I just, it's not like, I don't think there's much room in terms of what I saw last year for Moby's game to grow. I would like to hear from a guy like Nate Johnson next week, but here's where it's a step in the right direction. I think K-State has a lot of guys you could pick from here. And I think for the first time in a while, you don't have to question why somebody else isn't there, is that they had good enough options. And the fact that they're giving us Hagerty, they're giving us Bashir, that's good news, because last year we didn't get Doug McDaniel and everybody's kind of like, why would your premier transfer not be here? We got Coleman Hawkins, fortunately, but the writing was on the wall. Like Doug McDaniel not there, and then he didn't do very well throughout the season. Not necessarily because on the court. And the year before, we all sat there and went, why is Naquan Tomlin, your best returning player, not here? Well, we found out rather quickly it's because he had some other things going on that prevented him from playing basketball at K-State that season. So none of that this year for K-State. So you're already off to a better start this season than you were the last 2 years.
No, you're exactly right. They're off to a much better start, a lot better personality-wise that can mesh with doing in a media availability type setting. I'm looking forward to, and I'm challenging you, since you're a representative that's going to be there. You got to drop in an Ireland fun fact that we've had to Moby.
I mean, I don't even know that I would have one. I was in the country for such little time. But yeah, I don't know. I'll have to throw something his way. I'll go back and look at the videos and see something that you told me. Ask him about like the wildlife or something there. So
I'm all for it. You got to do something with Ireland in the movie. But all 3 of those guys I think will be interesting. Will be nice to hear again from Jerome Tang, just about everything going on throughout the season, because the season tips off for K-State 2 days later, which is crazy.
Yeah, true. Exhibition season. Maybe Tang and the players will just wait for the rest of the team to catch up with them in Kansas City, and then they'll head along down to Columbia for the exhibition that Friday night.
I can't wait for the mental gymnastics that I'm going to do either way on after the exhibition.
Yeah, I'm kind of fascinated to ask Jerome Tang about this, because I sat here thinking about this last night when I don't know if you watched any of it, but like Oklahoma State and Auburn, their exhibition game that took place, and that Oklahoma State game ends up in overtime, but O State was leading for a good chunk of the game and ended up winning 97-95. Anthony Roy, their transfer from Green Bay, looked phenomenal in the game. And then I saw that like Fran Fraschilla was talking about it, and O State was without like a couple of guys that might be in line to start for him. So like, this team that was picked preseason 12th or whatever in the Big 12 or 13th, all of a sudden I'm going like, oh, maybe I actually need to legitimately be concerned about K-State going to Gallagher-Iba this year, and not because of something K-State could do. Like, O-State might be legit. And I think we saw that Steve Lutz is the best coach that they've had there since the early days of Travis Ford,
or is Steve
for
Prohl
multiple years, because Brad was only there for one. But I don't know.
Because it could tell you something about Auburn a little bit too. So like that's where like the mental gymnastics is going to be so funny, because either way, like an exhibition in this type of setting doesn't really tell you a whole lot about either one of the teams. Like Texas Tech lost to Oklahoma in their not so secret scrimmage, because everybody knows the results by now. I don't think that really says anything about either one, because you just never know what really is going on behind the scenes. Like, my fact or fiction this week is actually centered around the exhibition and about PJ Hagerty leading the team in points potentially. And it is about like, well, PJ Hagerty is kind of a proven commodity. Do you incorporate him and have him like still lead the team in minutes? And let him get a lot of shots up, or do you have him like, or does the lineups look a little bit wonky in how they won't?
That's the fascinating thing here, is like, how are these exhibition games going to be treated when you're playing the other like power conference teams? Like, you get to play legitimate teams in these things now. It's not like your secret scrimmage like some of these teams are still doing, and like K-State had done in the past. Like, you think back to the 18-19 season when K-State won the Big 12. Like, we kind of learned through that K-State kind of manhandled Oregon in the secret scrimmage. And so then it's like, oh, okay, that might mean something. And sure enough, K-State was a Big 12 champ and everything. You get little nuggets out of it, but they do different things there. So like, are you going to play this like the exhibition against Newman the Friday after that, where we know it's going to be treated like a legit game? You're tuning up for the season, and so it's 2 20-minute halves. You're playing a straight up basketball game. It just, the win or loss doesn't count towards your record. Or are you going to do it more secret scrimmagey and set up these? Or for example, Wichita State, they did a public one against Drake last weekend. They did 3, I think, 12-minute like segments. And I think they split the first 2, and then I don't know what happened in the last one. I didn't care, but I just saw like the format was a little strange. And then I just saw, is it Vanderbilt and somebody that theirs this weekend? It listed on there that they're going to play 4 12-minute quarters and like split them up, and I think restart the score every time. And that in the last one, the score can be impacted by like on-court challenges and fan participation. So like, that's one of those things where it's like, I just don't know what we're going to see. So I'm going to be interested to ask Jerome Tang about that, because like, knowing what to expect going into that game is going to give us kind of what we should understand and know how to react to it. Because like, you're playing a power conference team that was in the NCAA tournament last year and was pretty good in the SEC. And so if you're playing a straight up game against them, then we're going to have a tangible result that's worth talking about. But if it's, some minutes here, some minutes there, oh, we're splitting this thing up into, 10-minute periods or whatever, and we're restarting the score, then it really doesn't make a big difference to me. My guess would be is that since it's going to be televised on the SEC network, it almost feels to me like this is going to be a legitimate just type of game. It's starting at 9:00. Like, how big of a freaking sucker do you feel like if you go to that game in person and they're, it's like a damn Savannah Bananas game breaking out there. And it's like, I stayed up for this to watch like these teams just screw around and not give me anything to make it feel like basketball season's actually here.
I think that it will look like a legitimate game, but you're still going to see, I think, every player on both teams play a little bit. And that's obviously just not how it's going to look when the bullets are flying. So I think that you're going to see like probably some wonky lineups. I would like to see, because I think that we all know what PJ Hagerty is. I want to see some lineups that doesn't include him and do that against like Missouri in a game that doesn't necessarily matter, and see who else can create and who else can distribute and run the offense.
Yeah, show us your 3 fouls for Hagerty lineup, Cats.
Yeah.
Let's see what that looks like and how they function on the court. Is it going to be like last year where you go, oh my gosh, like what lineup is on the floor right now? There's no way they score even 5 points in the next 7 minutes that they have to be out there or whatever it is. We'll react to that next week. I'm sure we'll have thoughts and opinions on it. And even though it'll be an early morning, this is the thing that bothers me is that this game's going to start at 9 on Friday. Have to watch it. It ends after 11, and then I'm going to be up early in the AM to drive to Lawrence, for an 11 a.m. game. But we'll be ready. And if it turns out to be a real game, we will be live afterwards to discuss our first look at K-State this year. If it's a fake game, screw off, people. We're talking to you on Saturday after the football game.
The scrimmage result will either mean that this scrimmage means that K-State's going to be awesome, or that
it didn't matter,
or that it didn't matter because it wasn't a real game.
Yeah. So just know what's at stake going into this. Today, because we have Media Day coming next week, we got all the preseason, all Big 12 stuff figured out, which, again, weird to me.
I have some beef.
We can't have this for football, the preseason poll, but it's still okay in basketball. It was just okay in volleyball. They didn't get rid of it in women's soccer, which, if I'm K-State, I'm saying, hey, you're weighing us down, expecting us to be crap again. They didn't realize that there's a new sheriff in town. We're not just rocking around NAIA style anymore at Boozer Family Park. So, yeah. Anyways, I thought that was dumb that you still do it for men's basketball in every sport other than football. Get over it, because the expectations for K-State is that they are going to finish 9th. That was where they were picked among the league coaches, 117 points. Once again, right there in a dog fight with the Cincinnati Bearcats, who got the 8th spot with 120 points. For the uninitiated, the way that this goes is you get a point total based off of where you were picked. And so if you get a first place vote, you get all 16 points. Houston, they got 14 first place votes. So do the math, 14 times 60, not going to do it. And you get whatever 14 times 16 is, plus wherever they finished in the other the other one ballot, because Kelvin Sampson can't vote for his own team. So he either voted for BYU or Arizona in first place. I imagine whoever didn't pick them to win the league, in addition to Kelvin Sampson, probably had them at number 2. So, I mean, I could do the math on that, but I'm not going to. I don't care. And then the 10-member preseason all Big 12 team was selected, and PJ Hagerty made it. Only 6 teams of 16 in the league were represented on the 10-member list for the all Big 12 preseason team. So that is a significant honor for PJ Hagerty to make it and be on there. Oddly enough, though, he was not picked to be the newcomer of the year in the league.
Even though he's the only transfer.
Yeah, Lawan Watts, who transferred to Texas Tech, is selected for that. And then the freshman of the year was Darren Peterson at KU, and the player of the year was JT Toppin, who won it last year for Texas Tech. So, which just my logic would say he's not winning it again. How many times do we see this where the guy that comes back, like, he's not winning it again? Somebody else is winning it. And Darren Peterson and AJ DeBonsa were both unanimous members of the All Big 12 team. I think if either of those two puts together the kind of season that would warrant them being unanimous All Big 12, one of those guys is probably winning Conference Player of the Year.
Yeah, so I have some beef with a lot of how this went down.
Beef it up.
Number one, whatever 10-person all Big 12 team, that bothers me a little bit, but not as much as like this does. I think that AJ DeBonsa and Darren Peterson are both going to be very, 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 very good. They haven't played a college game yet, and having them as unanimous selections, but like Emmanuel Sharp, and Taman Lipsey, and others not being unanimous, a little weird to me.
Look, I fully agree with that. And so I went and I looked it up. In 2007, 2008, Drew, do you think Michael Beasley was a preseason All Big 12 team member?
Well, I would hope so if these two were.
He was not.
Mm.
6 members on that 2007, 2008 All Big 12 preseason team. Michael Beasley was not one of them. So that's, and I tried looking. I couldn't find the 06, 07 one because I was going to see if Kevin Durant made it too, because like that's a pretty good barometer back-to-back years with Durant and Beasley. Did they end up making it because you had 2 freshmen that were your conference player of the year? And I couldn't find the 06, 07 one. But the fact that Beasley wasn't, and you're giving it to these two guys, like it's not even the fact that they're on there. You have 10 lists. These two are like all-world prospects. Like it's not just that they're 1 and 2, whether you're whatever recruiting ranking you're looking at, they're flip-flopped on them. It isn't just that like they're really good for their class. It's if you expand this out over the last 10 years or however many, they're going to be in the top tier of, overall recruits in that time span, which is a lot of guys to take into consideration. So like DeBonsa and Peterson are legit players, but we just don't know what that's going to end up looking like.
Not enough for them
introduced to college basketball. I don't think it should have been unanimous, which I get. Like you're taking each coach is an individual making their decision. And so we would have been surprised if neither of them were on this list because it's 10 guys and we think they're going to be great. But it is just weird that, because I don't imagine they're asking the coaches to name 10 guys. I bet the coaches just name 5 and they take the top 10 because you're going to get different names. But it is kind of crazy that those 2 freshmen were the unanimous ones, along with Milos Uzan from Houston and then JT Toppin, who won Player of the Year in the conference last year.
Yeah, so that's the first beef that I have is like 2 guys that have never played a college basketball game are unanimous All Big 12s, but like Emmanuel Sharp, Richie Saunders, PJ Hagerty, Christian Anderson, Taman Lipsey, all very proven, not just as a Big 12 thing because of PJ Hagerty, but like just proven in college basketball. So to see that was kind of crazy. Coaches poll, I guess, is okay because the coaches apparently know better than the media. And that's why the coaches get to do one. I don't really have a strong opinion either way about like where everybody's listed at. I think 9th for K-State is probably about right. Next Monday, I'll be on Bosco's Boys, and our friend Scott Wildcat asked where I thought K-State was going to land, and I said probably 7th at the end of the season. The 7th and 9th, there's going to be a bunch of ties in a 16-team league with unbalanced schedules, so whatever. Fascinating if you dive into the actual points for the preseason poll, because 1 through 12 are pretty jumbled up and pretty close. The bottom 4 were almost a unanimous bottom 4 on everybody's ballot.
Well, yeah. I mean, you look at Arizona State, they only end up with 34 points. So that means you're getting a lot of 1s and 2s for them probably. You even have segments within that where the top 3, not a ton of separation. Houston got 224, BYU at 204, and then Texas Tech at 200. And then you have another drop where it's Arizona, Iowa State, and Kansas kind of in their own realm at 179, 170, and 163. And then Baylor with some decent pace ahead of Cincinnati and K-State, who are right there neck and neck, like I mentioned. And then TCU, West Virginia, Oklahoma State, they're kind of in their own thing. So, like, there is a decently defined pecking order. But, even with the totals that were still there, I'm going to guess that there are people that had ballots that had – some that had Baylor ahead of Kansas or had Kansas ahead of Iowa State. Like, you're going to be all over the place in that. I think it's a good sign that even though K-State is 9th in this, and that's just, kind of middle of the pack, 117 is such a clearly better number than them, 10th for TCU at 90, which that must be the coaches knowing that TCU's never finished better than 500 in the decade plus that they've been in the Big 12 now. But like, they clearly think that K-State is going to be in this area and could jump up to, because I think if you're one of the top 10 teams here, like you feel like you've got the chance to finish anywhere from number 3 in the league to probably number 12 in the league. Like that, anything in that range is on the table. And Oklahoma State, again, their exhibition last night with Auburn is making us rethink and change the logic on them a little bit. But yeah, I don't really have any real issue of it. The fascinating things to me are Cincinnati should not be ahead of K-State. We know that. I'm glad that rivalry gets to continue. But then on top of that, I would be interested to know if Kelvin Sampson gave his vote to BYU or Arizona, and then who the other coach was that did not vote for Houston to finish in first.
Yeah, I'm with you. That is a little fascinating. Also, just like looking at that with where the coaches have K-State, that means that the coaches think that K-State's making the NCAA tournament. Top 9 in the Big 12 are going to make it. It might be like even maybe top 10 could make it. So you feel good about that. The other last beef that I have is what you've already said too, of like PJ Hagerty is the only transfer to be on the first team All Big 12 team, but wasn't preseason newcomer of the year. Like the logic there just doesn't really track, but that also means that like since he wasn't unanimous and 4 players were unanimous on the first team, does that mean that like 2 or 3 coaches were the ones that voted for Hagerty? And like that could be why.
Yeah, it almost makes me think that there were probably a lot more coaches that had like Watts and Hagerty on their preseason team, and then like it just worked out kind of funky. But yeah, it is weird to think about how that logic could have ended up working out. So I don't know. It's going to break my brain if I try to think about it too much longer. But either way, I think Hagerty is going to be great, and I think the expectation should be for him, based off the caliber of player he was, that he should win newcomer of the year in the conference.
Because that's also just where first team ballots for basketball are just getting silly now, because like we've already talked about, like 10 players made the team. Number one, that's weird and to begin with. But then we have 4 guys that are unanimous. That's where it gets really jumbled up. And where you would have like a Hagerty be on the first team, because he probably had, I would guess that probably 3 coaches or 2 coaches had him on their team, but then maybe like 4 had Watts for newcomer of the year, which still that logic doesn't really make a lot of sense while I'm talking about it.
The thought would be in there is that there may be some ballots that didn't have either of Hagerty or Watts on it. Like they didn't have any newcomers, like transfers on their ballots. And so then those guys would have had to have voted for Watts for player of the year. And they wouldn't have had a point system. So it would just be, Watts got like 9 newcomer of the year votes and Hagerty got 7, but the 7 that voted Hagerty all put Hagerty on their, preseason All Big 12, and then some left Watts off, and then some that had Watts also had Hagerty on there to where he got more, votes. I don't know. That's the only way that I can make sense of it, unless, we're back to Brett Yormark's America and participation trophy culture, and, really they both should have been on it, or they split the newcomer of the year vote, and Brett was like, you know what, let's put one here, we'll put one there. Everybody feels like they're represented. Fantastic. Not fantastic. It's BS, Brett.
It might have been the Big Ten last year. Somebody's preseason team had like 15 or 20 players on it. Like we're
politically speaking, I'm sure it was the Big Ten.
Like the whole thing with that is insane, because you have 3 all conference teams at the end of the year, but now you're trending to have like 20 or 25 players on 3 basketball teams. It's fine. It just looks very funky.
Yeah, very much. All right, so there you go. That's what the Big 12 preseason poll looks like. The breakdown of the all conference team to start the year. How much does it matter? Probably not a ton, but it matters somewhat. It gives us something to talk about, and it's just a barometer of understanding of where things sit heading into the season. And more than anything, it's for PR for the conferences. So they have representation somewhere for people to talk about them and quantify what's going to happen. But K-State picked 9th. We both think that K-State will finish higher than that when the season comes to an end. Either way, you can look around. And as we know, if the Big 12 is not having a weird down year, 9th most years is good enough to get you into the NCAA tournament. I mean, you go and you look last year at how it ended up shaking down. I think all but, well, the top 7 got into the tournament last year in the Big 12. West Virginia, most notably, got screwed, as we found out in that selection process. And then TCU also didn't make it. Now, that was TCU's fault because they lost back-to-back games to Colorado to finish their season, which I would argue if you lose to Colorado at any point during the season, you should be barred from the NCAA tournament, much like if you lose to Arizona State this upcoming season. Yeah. But you go back the year before that, and you can look and see top 9 had no problem making it in.
Most years, the top 9 has no problem making it in. And
keep in mind, like, K-State is a part of the reason why not more than 7 got in last year. Like, they should have been one that bumped the Big 12 up a spot, but they just failed miserably. Like, we talked about it. If K-State played better in the non-conference, what they did in conference play was just fine. They would have been in. So, like, that's the edge that the Big 12 teams have, and that's why that non-con schedule we talked about yesterday is going to be so important.
If you also go back and talk to West Virginia fans, they were so upset when they didn't make it. But now if you ask them, I bet a lot of them are pretty glad that they didn't make it.
Yeah, because then they can just go ahead and they can be like, oh, that idiot, old Darren DeVries missed an NCAA tournament at West Virginia. He's going to make one at Indiana. So, yeah, there you go. I'm looking here real quick. I may have found a spot where we can find if Kevin Durant was on the preseason Big 12 team in 2006, 2007. Oh, yeah. I think I found it. Hang on here. Let's see. Did you know that the Big 12 used to put out their own media guide?
Wow.
Yeah.
Bring that back, Brett.
I'm learning that right now because I'm looking at it. Okay. Big 12 Conference Awards. I don't need the sports. Well, hey, do you want to try to guess K-State players that showed up on the Sports Person of the Year going back? This is starting in the 05-06 season and going backwards. I think, if I'm reading correctly, only 2 K-State players were named the Sports Person of the Year. Now it's Athlete of the Year.
So this is like the awards started in 05-06.
Oh, wait, hold on. They have an Athlete of the Year and a Sports Person of the Year. K-State had 1 Athlete of the Year and they had 1 Sports Person of the Year. Both of them were the women representatives for the Big 12.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I'll just have you get the Athlete of the Year because, you're probably not getting the Sports Person of the Year because some of the Sports Persons of the Year, I don't know.
Is the Athlete of the Year a basketball player?
She was.
Is it Kendra Wecker?
No.
Is it Nicole Oldie?
Yeah, I was going to say it's the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah, she won it in 2003, 2004. Do you want to know, can you guess the football player in the conference that she shared it with, who was the male player of the year?
In 03-04, was it
Athlete of the Year?
Jason White, I would guess.
It was Jason White.
Yeah.
Just for reference, so again, we only have the inaugural year of the Big 12, so 96, 97 to 2005, 2006 at our disposal here. But Texas or Oklahoma had a football player win the male Athlete of the Year. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in that stretch, which there were. That's 10 years. The other winners, KU basketball had 2 of them, Nick Collison and Jacques Vaughn. And this is where they threw me for a curveball. Some guy from Nebraska football that I've never heard of, Grant Wistrom, won it. And then a couple of hey, we got to represent all sports here type of deal. Cale Sanderson won it for Iowa State wrestling. And then Charles Howell won it for Oklahoma State golf, which makes sense because the Pokes are insanely good at golf.
Who was the sports person of the year?
It was Kim Woodley. Shout out K-State basketball.
Never would have guessed that one.
First time I'd ever heard that name. No offense. Just let's see here. I now all of a sudden I don't know that I'm going to be able to find find it. I thought it would be in here because it told me that it was. It said, let's see, Big 12 table of contents, preseason all Big 12 honors, IFC. What do we think IFC means, Drew? I think it probably means inside front cover, but it doesn't show me the cover on here, so we're missing it.
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah. Well, gave it a go. Maybe Big 12 overview. Let's see. Oh. No, this is just the same thing. It just sent me the same little PDF of this media guide. Okay, we've gone to the point nobody cares. The show is over anyways, folks. Hold on. I may have just found the old IFC they were talking about. Okay, here you go. 2006, 2007. This is going to be fun here, Drew. Do you want to guess who the preseason player of the year was in 06, 07 in the Big 12?
Oh, boy. 06, 07. Was it not Kevin Durant?
It was not Kevin Durant. Remember, they used to hate freshmen in America.
Was it Brandon Rush?
Yeah, he was one of the co-players of the year preseason with his teammate Julian Wright.
AC Law was my next guess.
You have no chance at the newcomer of the year. It was a guard for Texas Tech.
Oh, Atlanta. Yeah.
Some guy named Charles Burgess.
Oh.
I'm going to go look to see what he did there. I better slap the beat the media guide tag on here because that's what we're doing right now. Well, it's not good for Charles Burgess because the first Charles Burgess that shows up is a guy that was a chemist that died in 1945. And then the basketball Charles Burgess that I'm seeing, this can't be him. Different one. Played in like a smaller league. Let's see. Charles Burgess, Texas Tech. Okay, I found him. He averaged, Drew, 9 points per game with 4 rebounds. He wore the number 42 as a guard. Interesting. Okay,
right.
Freshman of the year.
This had to be Kevin Durant.
It was Kevin Durant. All right, here we go. Preseason All Big 12 team. I'm going one at a time. This will be a big reveal. That way I'm surprised when you are. Richard Roby, Colorado.
Wow, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Brandon Rush, Kansas. Julian Wright, Kansas. Joseph Jones, Texas A&M. AC Law, Texas A&M. Jarris Jackson, Texas Tech. That is the end of the preseason All Big 12 team in 06-07. So Kevin Durant and Michael Beasley were not preseason All Big 12 members when they were freshmen, yet DeBonsa and Peterson were unanimous picks. Again, I am not saying that they should not have been on this list, but the fact that they were unanimous and Beasley and Durant weren't when the Big 12 was way worse off than it is right now with less teams is mind-blowing.
It also just shows that like teams and coaches really wanted to wait and see with freshmen back then, where like now it's like, we'll put them on there.
Also, think of how crazy this is. So this also has the preseason poll on there. Kansas, do you want to guess how many first place votes they got?
Probably all of them besides Bill Self's vote.
They did. 11. Who do you think Bill Self gave his vote to?
Based on context clues of what you said that the teams had, Texas A&M.
Texas A&M. Colorado, if you think that Arizona State has it bad at the bottom of this thing, Colorado only got 20 points in the voting, which out of 12 teams, that's a pretty low number, right?
They were pretty much a unanimous last.
Yeah. Iowa State only had 23, and then a significant jump up to 37 for Nebraska in 10th. K-State was a pretty firm 5th place pick that season.
Do you know how down bad you had to be that much worse than Nebraska in that time period?
Also, think about like looking at that. Colorado, basically, like you said, unanimous last place pick. Richard Roby was a preseason All Big 12 guy. But like in the current era, he would have been gone yesterday from Colorado. Like, what the heck was he doing just chilling there? Like go find somewhere else to play, dude.
Yeah, that's insane. Maybe they were so bad because they just let him chuck.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. He's he was there for a long time, and he averaged at least 16 points per game every season at Colorado. And shot the ball 35% from three for his career. I mean, he was legitimately a player. And you can go back and look at what they accomplished. They were 7-20 in the 06-07 season, and then they were 12-20 the next year.
I remember Richard Roby in the Big 12.
Oh, well, I mean, Richard Roby, and then Corey Higgins, Levi Knudsen. That's a my guy right there. I mean, getting out there just stroking that thing.
We're so off topic now. I'll ask one last question for you.
Okay.
Scott Wildcat asked us our favorite K-State basketball players growing up. My guess is that yours was also Cartier Martin.
Yeah.
Favorite Big 12 player that didn't play at K-State when we were kids?
Well,
I had kind of an obscure pick.
I think it was one of the Baylor guards, either Tweety Carter or Lacedarius Dunn.
Ooh, those are both good picks. Mine is like a little bit more obscure. Byron Eaton was my guy.
Oh, wow. I would also say that later on, it would make sense. I mean, I was a little older at this point, but Brady Heslop was a guy that I looked at, and I just was like, God, if K-State could just get a Brady Heslop, like, that'd make my life.
That definitely tracks.
And now, hey, guess what? They might have one. Well, I thought they had one last year with Brennan Hausen. And
they kind of did.
They kind of did. He was kind of actually good last year, despite what people wanted to try to say. And my heart did break a little bit when I had to see him in his Iowa uniform earlier this week. But yeah, no, that's fascinating just to go back and look at that and reminisce on old Big 12 stuff. But yeah, I got to thinking about when I saw that, I was like, I get it. They're really good. But are we sure, like, if Durant and Beasley weren't getting love, like what's the deal here? Let's see what year was that? Was that 20? Was that 14, 15? Was that the Wiggins and Embiid year?
I think so.
I'm trying to think. Let me look here. I don't want the all Big 12 because that's where I'm trying to think of like other big time freshmen that came in and like how were they perceived? Because you go back, there would have been a perception at that time about these guys. He was 13-14 was that year. So let me find. Throw other old Big 12 questions at me while I'm looking for this. This is the stuff I like talking about. Other people, whatever, shut it off. I tell you, you can do whatever you want.
I'll go. We just did favorites. What about least favorites?
Anybody that played at KU.
Well, that doesn't count.
Oh, what in the world? Okay. Huh. Back, 2013-14, the world was changing. They did give Andrew Wiggins a preseason All Big 12 spot.
But he wasn't unanimous. I'm looking at this right now. He wasn't unanimous.
Yeah, well, good call. Yeah, I don't know. I went to the first link that was going to show it to me, and it was Wikipedia, so I didn't look at it.
My least favorite Big 12 player growing up, Marcus Smart, was unanimous.
Yeah, but that Tech fan was kind of asking for the punch, though, right?
Yeah, well, that wasn't what I hated him for.
I would also, just on that topic, to go back to the last one, you talking about Oklahoma State. I love the orange O State uniforms during that era, and Keaton Page and Phil Forte were guys that I loved, obviously, given my, stature. Yeah, the only unanimous pick in 13-14 was Marcus Smart. So
that's what I'm saying. Like, might be a little rich for my blood. Markel Brown. Wow, that's another name I haven't thought about in a long time. I really liked him. I kind of liked Oklahoma State in this era.
Hey, they were, they were scrappy. They were something there.
But then that's what also makes my hatred of Marcus Smart kind of funny.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who would have been in that category of guys that just drove me nuts.
Here's another last trivia question for you with 2013-14 preseason All Big 12 basketball team, because I have the full list. Which K-State player was the honorable mention?
So what? This was the team that was a 9 seed and lost to Kentucky, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Well, I'm gonna guess on that team. Shane Southwell?
Correct.
I don't know if some might get offended by this. It's not meant to be an offensive thing. But Shane Southwell, by the time he was done, sneaky good player,
Yeah.
Just and here's the real problem though, is that he shot the ball well from 3 his junior year and did not the next year.
Nope.
He just abnormal year for him shooting the ball in 12-13, because he shot almost 44%, and then after that 30.6 the next year, and the 2 years before that he was like 25%. But yeah, though, that's there you go. How about that? Okay, well, we talked about the important stuff and also a little trip down memory lane today, and we'll be back again to close out the week tomorrow, talking more K-State. We'll see if we get back to basketball or if we go over to football again with nothing happening this weekend.
Tomorrow we could do a Big 12 little preview show.
We'll talk. We're going to figure some stuff out. We're going to get it hammered out. We're going to be here. We're going to be ready. We got a lot of bye-week content going up over at KSO right now as well. So thanks for sticking with us. If you're still here, for Drew Galloway, I'm Mason Voth. Thanks for watching and listening to K-State Online.